having a very lively conversation here on Kababayan Today. It's such a pleasure to have Aquino and Lo here to give such amazing advice, especially when it comes to immigration, and it affects our community so much. So I implore all of you, please get the proper advice from people that know what they're talking about. It's so important that the information you get is spot on, okay? So we have Romel on the phone. Romel, ano pong tanong ninyo sa ating mga immigration attorneys?
Hi, good afternoon po. I have a Seaman visa. Nag-jump ship po ako noong 2004. Then nag-apply po ako ng LULAC on 2007 just to get a working permit. And then nagpakasal po ako sa US citizen a year ago. And then we're planning to apply a 601A. Makakapik po ba yung LULAC?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm assuming that the question is how is the LULAC application going to affect my...
Yes.
Yeah. It does happen. You know, the LULAC program was subject to a lot of people fraudulently submitting applications in order to get work permits, and often driven by notarios and people who are claiming to be legal experts to do that. Part of the LULAC is that it was confidential, so that information is supposed to remain with the application and not lead to other problems. But there is some exceptions for fraud and other things that are likely to be problematic. So most of the time it shouldn't be a problem because those applications don't really come into play in counselor processing. But it is something that you need to have somebody look at and make sure that whatever you're doing is not going to lead you to being stuck outside the country.
Right, and that's exactly what I was just talking about when we opened the show. Get the proper information, right? Okay, so before we talk about anything else, let's talk about the implementation of the AB 60, the driver's licenses. Richard?
Well, as my contracts professor used to say in law school, it's going swimmingly. So basically, we've had in California, since January, there have been over 1 million applications for driver's licenses, and over 250,000 of those have been granted. So the program is really moving forward well, and we have several clients who have gotten their licenses and been able to move forward with their lives. As anything, you have to be cautious in how you approach it, particularly if you have previously had a driver's license.
That's right.
And used false documents in order to get that license. That can put you in some problem areas, so you want to be careful.
All right. Okay, we have Ricardo on the phone. Ricardo, ano pong tanong ninyo para sa ating mga lawyers na nandito ngayon?
1998 ay petition namin ng aming dalawang anak sa Philippines as green card holder. Ngayon, itong mga anak namin nag-asawa ay simple na-revoke ang kanilang petition, ay ipinail ulit namin ang petition sa kanila. Ano bang possibility kung gaano katagal maghihintay, or meron bang possibility na mapaikli ang paghihintay nila habang naghihintay sila noon?
Okay, so pinetition nyo po, you petitioned your children as a green card holder, but then they got married, so it got revoked. You reapplied for their petition. Kailan po kayo nag-reapply?
Ay, noong 2013.
2013. Okay, as Attorney Aquino-Silva was saying, the wait list has a really long time, so we're looking at...
There's a few points in this question.
Okay.
The first point is the effect of a marriage on a family-based petition. So generally speaking, as he pointed out, when the petition is filed by a green card holder parent on behalf of a child, usually, or once the child gets married, the petition is revoked. But he did at some point in time obviously become a U.S. citizen, otherwise he could not have petitioned the child for that next petition. So what we need to take a look at is when the marriage took place and also when the U.S. citizenship took place. Because if the marriage took place before the child got married, the first petition actually still remains valid.
I see.
And a lot of people don't realize that. They think that once you get married, it's done, it's over with. And we have had clients who have continued waiting and wasted years thinking that the first petition was already nullified. So in that situation, that's something to take a look at. If we are to presume that the marriage took place before the petitioner became a U.S. citizen, then unfortunately, as we discussed earlier, the waiting list for that F3 visa category is now back to 1993. petition filed in 2013, you're still looking at about a 20-year waiting list.
20 years.
Yes. Now, one other point, if I just may, in those 20 years, a lot of things happen. And as we know, unfortunately, marriages don't always work out. And so there is a situation that if the marriage does in fact get terminated at some point in time, either through annulment or either through divorce, then it does switch categories. It switches to the F1 visa petition.
And then you get into a
shorter waiting period, which right now is at 2004.
Okay.
So,
pero ang problema, wala tayong divorce sa Pilipinas.
That's a big problem.
Right, that is a big problem indeed. Okay, when we return, we will take more of your calls, and I know we have someone on the phone. Stephanie will be right with you once we return from break here on Kababayan Today. We'll be right back.